a lot of the times you don't understand your own insurance policy. So you don't understand for what situations you'll be covered, what situations you won't be covered. Hey there, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Conscious Counsel podcast with your host, Cory Sterling. That's me. I hope that this finds you well. As always, the intent and the purpose of recording this podcast is to help share information and legal anecdotes to help health and wellness professionals protect and grow their businesses with confidence and ease. And every episode I record, it's with that same intention. I want to help health and wellness entrepreneurs navigate the legal world, understand legal questions, and build their business in a way that they can protect it and they can grow it and they can live their dreams. That's what this is about. This week's episode, we got a really exciting topic, and I want to talk about insurance. And the question of the episode is insurance enough? And I recently went through a story with one of my clients who is a retreat organizer, and we discovered that insurance is not enough. And the reason why this matters for you is because a lot of people who organize retreats, who have studios, who have businesses, if it's a boutique fitness business, if it's a coaching business, if you're running retreats, whatever it is that you're doing, you probably have insurance, and you probably think, oh, well, I've got insurance, so everything's good. And if whatever situation it is that comes up, I'll be fine. But the reason why this matters and it's important is because a lot of the times you don't understand your own insurance policy. So you don't understand for what situations you'll be covered, what situations you won't be covered. And then you also won't understand how and why you're going to need legal to help protect you and fill those gaps from insurance. So the benefits of having agreements that are specific to you and your business, first and foremost, it's communicating expectations openly and honestly. So anyone who works with you, anyone who signs up with you knows exactly what they're getting when they get into working with you and they sign and they put a deposit or they join for monthly membership or whatever it is that they do. So the first goal is to communicate expectations openly and honestly. The second goal is to make sure you are at best legal protection and that you're following the current rules. So legal rules are always changing. On this podcast, we've talked about ADA, we've talked about click to cancel, we've talked about lots of different evolutions and new laws that are taking place that health and wellness entrepreneurs need to be protected for. And you want to be at best legal practices because number three, you want to protect yourself from liability. You want to protect the investment of your business. You want to make sure that your assets are safe. You want to make sure that you're not at risk of getting sued or losing a lot of money. And these are all very normal considerations. And so sometimes people will think that insurance is the panacea. And insurance is like, oh, well, I can just use ChatGPT documents because I have insurance. But if you open up the hood of the car and actually look around and see what's happening, a lot of the times your insurance will not cover you. And I'm going to let you know a little secret that not all of the insurance people want you to know about. But when there is time for a claim, a lot of the times insurance companies will do everything they can to not have to pay you out. They're going to look for a reason why the policy should not apply, and as such, why they do not have to fork out tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix the situation that you're in. And so the story this week that sort of just illustrates these gaps in insurance has to do with a client of mine running retreats, already started selling retreats with this insurance policy in place and before having legal documents. So the first thing that we always want to remember, the time for legal agreements is before you start selling. And a lot of the times going through the process we have at Conscious Counsel will help you understand what relationship you want to have with your clients and ask yourself questions about what happens if I have to cancel? What if the other person has to cancel? What if they issue a chargeback? These sorts of questions are the things that you want to think about before you really get going to make sure that everything is organized as it needs to be and that your assets are protected and you've communicated expectations openly and honestly and that you're at best practices. But in helping this client, one of the things that I said I would do is I would be happy to review their insurance policy because they're like, well, I don't really think I need legal. I'm going to get it just to be sure, but I do have this insurance policy. And Cory, do you mind to take a look at it and let me know? And I'm going to share some of the findings that I found from going through this policy. And this is like very standard. It's not out of the blue. It's not like I'm choosing a situation that's a total anomaly and extracting from that. These things are very, very common, but it is really, really important to know. And it emphasizes more than anything the importance of having legal agreements to fill the gaps. Yes, you need insurance. Yes, you need law. And yes, they need to work together. So for this particular client, a couple of the things that were not included in their policy is that there was no cancellation coverage. In the event of force majeure or otherwise, if the retreat organizer had to cancel the event or change the dates from the event, based on their insurance would help them zero with that. And the retreat organizer would be responsible out of pocket to have to make all of the payments back and give refunds in the event that they could not put on the event or there was a cancellation or a change. What if the venue goes out of business? There's so many variables that are at play, but no cancellation coverage is not helpful for anyone. There was nothing around infectious diseases, and they're going to an exotic place. They're going to Costa Rica. So if someone gets a disease there, or someone gets sick, or someone gets dengue, or someone gets COVID, or whatever it is, nothing covered around that. There's no coverage for property theft or loss or damage. So if one of the participants comes on, let's say someone robs the room and steals all of their jewelry, which is unfortunately not outside the scope of normal things that can happen. That's pretty normal. It's foreseeable that something like that can happen. No coverage. The retreat organizer would be personally responsible. The insurance did not cover anything that happened to anyone when under the influence of a substance, including alcohol. So if, let's say, part of the retreat, every night they have dinner together, I'm thinking White Lotus, any White Lotus fans out there, everyone has dinner together, and then okay, someone drinks too much and something happens. Zero. They slip, they fall by the pool while they're drunk, they hit their head, nothing. Insurance is not going to contribute to any of that. And those are essentially just a couple of examples of the things that we found of what was not included. And obviously it's concerning because I find insurance is most similar to a lease, in the sense that it's a really, really big document. Someone's telling you what's in it, but until you either have a lawyer go through all of it, or you really take the time to understand what is and what is not included in your insurance policy, it's very convoluted and it's very scary. Because essentially you're doing this activity that incurs a lot of risk. There's a lot of possibility of things going wrong with international travel and bringing people to a foreign country. And a lot of the times we think that our insurance is fine and that the insurance is going to take care of everything. But a lot of the times, many of the things that you're doing or the way that you're doing it will be excluded. And so I just took some time to record this podcast episode because I think it's important that my clients and my community know that. Insurance is helpful, and there are situations where insurance can help, but your legal and insurance should be working together to make sure that you're totally covered for the things that may or may not happen, and also that you have an understanding so that you can plan accordingly of where the insurance falls short and where you need extra coverage with the legal stuff. So I hope that you found this information helpful and enjoyable. As always, you can always find us on Instagram at consciouscounsel and just shoot us a note and say, hey, I heard the podcast on retreats. I have a couple of questions. We'll be happy to chat and speak with you. But essentially, in summary of this episode, this past week, I was helping a client who is running international retreats and has an insurance policy and asked me to look at it. And when I looked at it, I saw that there were a lot of gaps that were missing, a lot of pieces for which my client would be liable. And also when I had a meeting with the client to go over this, they were shocked. They had no idea that these things were not covered. And so the reason why it's important is that we remember the purpose of legal documents is to communicate expectations openly and honestly, create the relationships you want to have, be at best legal practices, following all of the rules, and also protecting you from liability and protecting your assets that you put a lot of effort into building a retreat or a studio or a business or an online course, and you want to make sure that that investment is protected by having legal documents and having a relationship with a lawyer who understands what you're doing and what's up. And specifically in this case, there were some areas where the insurance coverage did not cover the client or would not have protected the client related to infectious diseases, if the trip had to be canceled, anyone who's under the influence of any substances, sort of just things like that that are foreseeable, property theft and loss and damages. So it's really, really important to button it up. As a small business health and wellness professional, you're going to need a lawyer, you're going to need insurance, you're going to need an accountant. These are all the things that you need. And it's important that you make the right choices in choosing the services and that you understand exactly what's covered and what's not covered. So whatever it is that you do, make sure you work with a lawyer that loves you, and have an amazing week.